bring in Rick Newman to take a look at the week in Bidenomics. It was a big one, Rick. Is the new president outdoing his buddy, President Obama?
I think he is. I'm very interested by this. Look at the interesting parallels. Obama came in the midst of a crisis. The first big legislative act was that huge fiscal stimulus plan in 2009. And then Biden comes in, and the first thing he gets is another fiscal stimulus plan, except this one is more than twice the size of what Obama was able to get in 2009. And it also comes after another $4 trillion in stimulus that has already been spent. So I think this is setting Biden up to be in a much better position on the date that matters for a president, which is the first midterm election after he gets reelected. A lot of economists have looked back at the Obama recovery from the financial crash in 2008 and said it just took way too long. And there's a case that maybe Congress should have done a lot more back then. So Biden was there, obviously. He doesn't want this recovery to take too long, so that 6 years later, we're still wondering when are the jobs coming back. And I think that's one of the reasons he and his fellow Democrats on Capitol Hill managed to get this gigantic $1.9 trillion stimulus package that he signed this week. I think this really is going to probably help the economy going into the midterms, which at this point are only about 18, 20 months away.
And Rick, I wonder if there's a risk of comparing apples and oranges here when we're comparing the 2008 financial crisis and us coming out of this coronavirus pandemic. Doesn't it seem like Biden's challenge is that much bigger than what President Obama had to deal with? Or do you think they're pretty much similar in terms of comparing recession?
So I'll cop to being guilty as charged for perhaps mixing apples and oranges, but I think it's actually the other way around at this point. Obama came in when the economy was still actually getting worse. The recession was not over, and in a way, that was a much worse recession because it was a financial crash, which involved a lot of bad debt, and those are just a lot harder to get through. There was much deeper damage to the financial system. We really have suffered no damage to the financial system at this point. And look, Biden came in when the vaccines were almost fully developed. The economy probably bottomed out last year rather than this year. So I think you can make the case that most of the economic damage from the current downturn is in the past. But look, presidents benefit from lucky timing sometimes. You could argue President Trump came in at a good time just as the Obama recovery was finally starting to pick up speed. Nonetheless, however, if you go back to the Obama recovery, it took 3.5 years to get back to pre-recession levels of GDP, and it took 6.5 years to get back to pre-recession employment levels. And I think Biden is saying to himself and the rest of the country, I'm not going through that again. We're going to make it happen a lot faster this time.
Rick, how will voters in the midterms, because that's what we got to talk about now, receive the message from the Republicans? Mitch McConnell said it yesterday that the Biden administration actually inherited an economic recovery from the Trump administration that set all of this up in play.
Yeah, I mean, this happens every single election cycle. The party in power says anything good that happened, we get credit for that. Anything bad that happened is the fault of the guy who came before. That's always true, and it's going to be true again in the midterms. My hunch, so much can change, Adam. You know this, you've covered enough elections, but my hunch is if things feel like they're back to normal and the economy is improving as much as economists think it's going to improve during the next year or two, I think the Democrats are in great shape and the Republicans can, come up with whatever talking points they want. But if people feel like Obama got us, he got the country vaccinated, the economy's back, jobs are back, and things are pretty good, I think they're very likely to say, we don't really want to change this. Certain things could happen. We've talked a lot about whether this gigantic stimulus could overheat the economy. That's a problem. That would hurt Democrats. At the moment, I don't think Republicans have a great case, regardless of who, in technical terms, gets credit for this recovery.
Rick Newman, have a great weekend.